Hello guys and welcome to Matt's Beamer. Today I'm going to show you how to bleed the brakes on a BMW F20 F21 1-suit, and I believe it will also work for a few other models in the BMW lineup. As you can see, there has been a lot of snow here and I had to spend a lot of time trying to get into my garage, snapping a few shovels along the way. So, I'm going to bleed the brakes in this car with a pressure bleeding kit, which I shall show you later in the video, and I will actually do a video on it separately in another video. You will have noticed that I have already placed the car on 4 jack stands. I also cleaned around the bleed screws and used penetrating spray the day before to make it much easier to release them. They can be very fragile, and if they snap, you may have to replace the whole caliper. This is not good. First of all, let's pop the bonnet. The first step is to remove this cover here, which hides the brake fluid reservoir. There are 3 10mm plastic bolts, which you need to turn like quarter of a turn or half a turn. Okay, then what you have to do is push this in like this and lift this thing here out. Okay, half a turn, half a turn. Well, until it actually stops. Okay, and then pushing the clip down here, and voila, it comes out of the way. And this is what you get under the cover, the brake fluid reservoir. The brake servo, and underneath the reservoir is the brake master cylinder. Here is the ABS pump. The next step is to clean away all the loose dirt so it doesn't enter the reservoir, and make sure you get lots of rags or something to stop the brake fluid spreading, just in case any brake fluid overflows. It's very dangerous to the car's paintwork and also your skin. Also, please remember to wear gloves and eye protection. When you are ready, remove the old lid from the reservoir and carefully place it in a safe location, being sure that no brake fluid drips randomly into the engine bay or down the side of your car. It will really mess up your paintwork. Also, carefully remove the filter for the brake reservoir. It can be quite a pain. I had to use a small pointy tool to remove it. My next task was to remove some old .4 brake fluid from the brake reservoir. I couldn't find a turkey baster, but luckily some old lady recommended this thing here, which is used where the sun does not shine, if you know what I mean. You can buy them from your local pharmacy. When removing the fluid from the reservoir, put it in the collection bottle. Don't let the level get below the minimum mark. When you have removed the desired amount, refill with some fresh .4 up to the max mark. I forgot to record this part. Now, what I did was connected the bleed pressure cap, which goes on top of the brake reservoir system. Make sure that it's nice and tight and screw it on evenly. Then, I pumped up the reservoir to 10 psi and listened for any air leaks. I also left it for 2 minutes to see if the psi dropped at all. Luckily, it stayed steady, which means it wasn't losing pressure.
Now it's time to add the .4 brake fluid into the reservoir, but first I need to release the pressure for the pressure bottle by pressing this pressure release valve just here.
Now, at last, we can add the fluid. When you open the lid of a brake fluid bottle, make sure that it is sealed inside. What I tend to do is make 2 holes in the plastic seal, though the bottom one is better off being a bit bigger. It helps with a smoother flow. I poured in just under two 500 milliliter bottles, which is a good idea as it saves you opening another bottle if you ever need to top up the brake reservoir. When you have finished filling up the bottle, refit the cap nice and tight and pump the system up to 15 psi, making sure that the tubes are not kinked or bent, as this will affect the whole process and give false readings. Now, it's time to bleed the brakes themselves.
When it comes to bleeding the brakes, you need to start with the caliper, which is the furthest away from the brake fluid reservoir and the brake master cylinder. I hope this diagram makes it easier to understand. So basically, work out which diagram is of your car. Then start at number 1 and work your way to number 4, which is the one closest to the brake master cylinder.
Let's start at the rear right. Don't forget my car's left-hand drive. I actually sprayed penetrating oil on each bleed screw the night before, as I was concerned that they were stuck and couldn't be released easily. I uncovered this bleed nipple by popping off this rubber cap, which protects it. Then I got my 11mm 6-pointer spanner, which was specially made for this job. Don't use a 12-point socket or a standard spanner, as they could easily round it off, which is bad news. The thing that is special about my 11mm 6-point spanner is it comes with a check valve. I found this feature quite useful. I wonder if it will perform as well later down the line. Anyway, as you can see, I have put the spanner over the lead screw and put the clear rubber tube over the spanner check valve. If you don't have a spanner check valve, just stick it straight directly onto the bleed screw itself. I ended up getting rid of the black rubber connection that you can see in this video, as it was a pain and it kept slipping off. When ready, release the bleed screw a quarter of a turn and the fluid will flow towards the catch bottle. You need to close the bleed screw when fresh fluid flows out and there were no more bubbles. My old fluid was yellow, while the new fluid was very clear. When you feel the time is right, tighten up the bleed screw to about 10 Newton meters, or just snug. Don't over tighten it, otherwise it will snap. And then cover up the screw with the rubber cap. Now do the same with the other 3 calipers. This is where the bleed screws are located on the front calipers. This is how much brake fluid I got out of the system. With all 4 bleed screws done up and covered, you can release the pressure from the system by releasing the lid on the pressure tool itself, or if you're lucky like me, just press the valve here. When it reads 0 psi, remove the fitting, which is on the brake reservoir. Never undo the reservoir when the system is under pressure, as it can cause a big mess. And also make sure you have some cloths or some rags ready, just in case any brake fluid spills out. Also, I put the fitting into a plastic bag so it didn't drip all over my paintwork. Then what you need to do is remove or add brake fluid to the reservoir, depending on how it reads. Basically, it just needs to be at the maximum point. Then you need to replace the black cover which hides the brake reservoir. Now it's time to check your pedal. With the engine off, it should pump up nice and firm. When you start the engine, the pedals should have a nice feel to it and shouldn't be soft, spongy, or have a lot of travel. Anyway, have a wonderful day and take care. Goodbye.